Okay, well, welcome to tonight's meeting of the Environment and Planning Committee meeting. I declare the meeting open at 7:02 p.m. I'll start with the acknowledgement of country. I would like to acknowledge the Bidjigal people of the Eora Nation, who are the traditional custodians of all lands, waters and sky in the Georges River area. I pay my respect to elders past and present and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples who live, work and meet on these lands. I have an apology from Councillor Marnie and Councillor Catris. Are there any other apologies? No? Can I have a motion, please, to accept the apologies and grant a leave of absence? Councillor Lansbury has moved that. Councillor Jamieson has seconded that. We can just call all those in favour, say aye. Aye. Anyone against? I'll declare that carried. Okay, next is our request to attend the meeting via audio-visual link. There were no requests to attend via audio-visual link. Notice of live streaming of council meeting. Staff and public are reminded that this meeting is being recorded for minute-taking purposes and is also being broadcast live to the public on council's website in accordance with section 5 of council's Code of Meeting Practice. The recording will be made available on council's website. The Code of Meeting Practice, the order of business is as shown in the agenda, which is being made available. Staff and public are reminded that the meeting is open. Doors to the meeting room are to be left open unless the meeting moves into a closed confidential session, according to section 14 of the Code of Meeting Practice. Only if the meeting moves into a closed confidential session will the public broadcasting of the meeting be suspended. Council's Code of Meeting Practice prohibits the electronic recording of meetings without the express permission of council. Mobile phones must be turned to silent during the meeting. There are a number of disclosure of interests. First of all, starting with myself, special interest disclosure from Councillor Borg, submitted a special disclosure of pecuniary interest in item EMV 019-24, preparation of additional and diverse housing planning proposal for the Georges River LGA, for the reason that she has an interest in an R2 zone land area. I will stay for deliberations on the matter and remain in the meeting and participate in the consideration and voting on this item. I have another special disclosure interest on the same item for the same reason, and this is in relation to a close relative of mine who also has an interest in an R2 zoned area. That is their principal place of residence, so I will remain in the meeting and deliberate on the item. Councillor Amber Haberha has declared a pecuniary interest on item EMV 019-24, preparation of additional and diverse housing planning proposal for the Georges River LGA, for the reason that she is employed as a Regional Director, Operations Metro at St Vincent de Paul Society, New South Wales, and she oversees Vinnie Support Centres and van operations in the metropolitan area. The Hurstville Vinnie Support Centre is currently operating at 183C Forest Road, Hurstville, New South Wales, and the site is owned by the Society. Councillor Amber Haberha will not partake in any deliberations on this matter, and she will leave the meeting and not participate in the consideration and voting on this item. Any other councillors have interest to declare? Okay. I want to just, I think I can read it from there. So, Councillor Jamieson has submitted a special interest disclosure on item EMV 019-24, preparation of additional and diverse housing planning proposal for the Georges River LGA, for the reason that she has interest in an R2 zoned land area, and Councillor Jamieson will partake in the deliberations on the matter and will remain in the meeting and vote on the matter. Councillor Jamieson declared a non-significant, non-pecuniary interest in EMV 020-24, Mortdale Beverly Hills Master Plan update, for the reason that her owner-occupied property is within the master plan area. However, there is no pecuniary interest in the update, and Councillor Jamieson will remain in the meeting and take part in consideration of voting on the item. Any other interests, councillors?
I also have a special disclosure, Deputy Mayor, that I've submitted to council staff, but it is essentially a special disclosure because of my principal place of residence being in an R2 zone, which is affected with the report.
So that's on EMV 019-24, the preparation of the additional diverse housing planning proposal.
Correct. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. There being no other disclosures, we will move on. Is our speaker arrived? Okay. So we'll move on to confirmation of minutes of the previous meeting, which is EMV 017-24, confirmation of the minutes of the Environment and Planning Committee meeting held on the 8th of April 2024. Could I have a mover and seconder? Councillor Lansbury has moved that. Councillor Jamieson has seconded that. Thank you, councillors. Any questions on the minutes? If not, I will put the item. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
All those against? I declare that carried. Okay, we move to the committee reports. First item is EMV 018-24. That is the outcome of the exhibition adoption of revised tree management policy and amendment number 6 to the Georges River DCP 2021. Before we move, call for a mover and seconder, we're going to get a report from Ms. McMahon, who's our Manager of Strategic Planning. No, there's no speaker. The speaker hasn't arrived.
Hasn't turned up. I think.
Sorry. So,
Yes.
Ms. McMahon.
Through you, Madam Chair. Council, at its meeting back in November last year, resolved to exhibit the draft revised tree management policy, an amendment to the Georges River fees and charges relating to tree management fees, and a draft amendment to the Georges River Development Control Plan. The draft revised tree policy, the fees and charges amendment, and the draft amendment to the Georges River DCP were publicly exhibited from the 31st of January to the 1st of March this year. A total of 18 submissions were received, 3 internal submissions from council staff, 2 submissions from the Institute of Australian Consulting Arboriculturists, 2 submissions from resident action groups, and 11 submissions from individuals. All submissions have been reviewed and considered and are outlined in attachment 1 to the report, as well as discussed in the report. The key issues raised included minor amendments to the DCP to improve clarity and reduce risk of misinterpretation, minor amendments to the draft tree management policy to improve clarity and to reduce risks of misinterpretation. There was a number of requests for the tree replacement ratio to be increased from 2:1 to 4:1 for every tree approved for removal. There was a request for clarification regarding the change in the definition of a tree. There was an objection to the inclusion of exotic species under the Georges River Urban Forest. Requests to review the council street tree master plan, and complaints regarding works on a private property. As I said, the issues are covered and addressed in attachment 1, as well as in paragraphs 23 to 80 of the report. In response to the submissions, a number of post-exhibition changes have been recommended to the policy and to the draft amendment to the Development Control Plan. There are no amendments proposed to the fees and charges relating to the tree management fees. The changes to the draft policy and the DCP post-exhibition are outlined in tables 5 and 6 of attachment 8. The report recommends that council adopts the revised policy and the draft amendment to the Development Control Plan as amended, as well as the fees and charges amendment, which hasn't been changed as a result of exhibition. Should council support the recommendations proposed, the revised tree policy and the draft DCP amendment will become effective in early June, whilst the amended tree management fees will become effective the 1st of July. Thank you, councillors. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Ms. McMahon. Councillors, can I call for a mover and seconder on this item? Moved by Councillor Lansbury, seconded by Councillor Amber Haberha. Councillor Lansbury, would you like to speak as the mover?
Thanks, Madam Chair. I'll just say a couple of words. Firstly, thank you to Kath McMahon and Andrew Spooner and all of your staff who put in an extraordinary amount of work into this particular document. There has been some revisions obviously over the years due to unforeseen circumstances, but there's a lot of information there. The annexures are quite dense with all of their information as well, so thank you. I think that this is a good step forward and is very timely. A part of it, I did notice the there was some slight amendments to the significant tree register, which that may have come from submissions. My recollection from that was no. Oh, okay. I thought there was an amendment to that.
Through you, Madam Chair, there were no amendments to the significant tree register, but the significant tree register is on our council website. Yes.
Oh,
But,
okay.
yeah.
It's mentioned within the body of the report, though. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Councillor Abehaber. Any other councillors have any anything else to ask the directors? If not, I'll put the recommendation. Or we'll go around the room. Thank you, Ms. McKinley.
Your vote, please, Mr. Mayor.
For.
Madam Chair.
For.
Councillor Amber Haberhart. For. Councillor Jamieson.
For.
Councillor Lansbury.
For.
Councillor Wang.
For.
6 votes unanimous.
I'll declare that motion carried. Now we have a speaker that was registered, sorry, and we've passed the public forum, but we might just give the speaker the opportunity now before we consider the next item, which is the EMV 019-24. So Mr. Graham Cartwright, I believe, is here in person and wishes to speak on item number EMV 019-24. That's the preparation of additional and diverse housing planning proposal for the Georges River LGA. So Ms. Cartwright, you have 3 minutes to make your comments. Or is it time?
Yeah, thank you, Councillor.
Thank you.
I am in favour of the proposal as long as transport and jobs are forthcoming, and I will outline this reason why. The Transport 2056 strategy highlighted the needs of residents in its report for transport, but ignored them, especially after the moving of Eastern Harbour City, of the council area from Eastern Harbour City to the Central River City. The New South Wales government has a policy of moving jobs from the CBD out to the Parramatta Central River City area, and this has disadvantaged council residents by extending travel journeys from 30 to 45 minutes out to 1 to 1.5 an hour, which is in contravention to the 30-minute city concept. For instance, the single largest destination of the council area is to the city, and that's 25% of residents. I also note that the strategy prioritises road over, particularly toll roads, over rail. The Premier, who's elected, is in this council area, has a review of toll roads underway, and that is likely to lead to less toll roads as a result. I've previously provided to the previous Mayor, Kevin Green, and council staff my analysis of the 2056 strategy with options for improvement and the need for us to be considered part of the Eastern Harbour City. A rail line from Hurstville to Macquarie Park as a metro would provide connections to the network other than just another radial, and there are 5 lines that are impacted. This construction would ease the congestion points on all major motorways at the present and on King George's Road. Being approximately 25 kilometres long, it would take 30 minutes to get from here to Macquarie Park. Macquarie Park is a very similar demographic to the Georges River area and is a source of jobs. It would be possible to further extend it to Carringbar via Tarrant Point, South Hurstville, Blakehurst and Sans Souci, providing better connections further south. And as the council is aware, after 50 years, the widening of King George's Road is still not finished. There is an urgent need for public transport. My recommendations for council is firstly to work with the state and local members to get the area moved back into the Eastern Harbour City. So not only the housing needs, but the transport and jobs needs of the residents are considered. To scrap the Cogra to Parramatta thought bubble of a proposed rail line sometime post 2056, and that the council should work with its state members for Cogra and Oatley to develop a Hurstville to Macquarie Park metro, and that would fit with with getting not only places for people to live, but jobs and transport for them, and be essentially the complete package that the 6 cities envisages, and this area is sadly neglected in doing so.
Thank you, Mr. Cartwright. We'll move back into our normal order of business now, and we'll move to item EMV 019-24, which is the preparation of additional and diverse housing planning proposal for the Georges River LGA. And Miss Anne Quinn, our Principal Strategic Planner, is going to give an overview of that report. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you. Item EMV 019-24 is regarding the preparation of an additional and diverse housing planning proposal for the LGA. At the extraordinary council meeting held in February on the 12th, an overview was given for the series of housing reforms that are being proposed by the state government. One of the reforms is the low and mid-rise housing proposal, which seeks to do a number of changes, introduce a number of changes to create additional capacity for residential dwellings throughout New South Wales. So this includes permitting dual occupancies at a much smaller lot size of 450 square metres, allow medium density housing in the R2 low density zone, allow residential flat buildings in the R3 medium density zone. At that meeting, council sought to seek a deferral from the low and mid-rise housing proposal. Subsequently, at the March Council meeting, Council further reinforced the desire for a deferral from the low and mid-rise housing proposal by showing commitment to the provision of capacity for additional and diverse housing through immediate and midterm changes to our local planning controls. The purpose of this report is to respond to Council's commitment by seeking endorsement to prepare an accelerated planning proposal which will amend the Georges River Local Environmental Plan 2021. And this planning proposal is known as the Additional and Diverse Housing Planning Proposal. This planning proposal is anticipated to create capacity for an additional 8,245 dwellings across the LGA. The content of this planning proposal reflects the outcomes and directions provided to council staff at councillor briefing workshops held on the 3rd of April and the 9th of April. These are outlined in the report, and I will go through the contents of the planning proposal briefly as follows. So in the R2 zone, this planning proposal seeks to reduce the minimum lot size for dual occupancies from 650 square metres to 600 square metres. However, this reduction excludes land located within the existing heritage conservation areas, the existing foreshore scenic protection area, the proposed foreshore scenic protection area, and unique character areas that are subject under the biodiversity and character foreshore planning proposal. It also seeks to amend the subdivision lot size for dual occupancy so that it is an even division of 2 from the lot size control. The PP also seeks to introduce multi-dwelling housing and terraces into the R2 zone with an FSR of 0.6 to 1. And this is with the exception of the land in the area spoken in the previous point. And it is also proposed to ensure density is regulated by a minimum square meter per dwelling control, which is 300 square meters of site area per every medium density dwelling provided in an R2 zone. And there will also be a control which enforces the dwelling at the rear of the site to be single stories only. And council will continue to seek the prohibition of manor houses within the R2 zone. In the R3 zone, the planning proposal reduces the lot size for dual occupancies from 650 to 500 square metres, and also reduce the corresponding subdivision lot size to 250 square metres. It also seeks to introduce residential flat buildings into the R3 medium density zone with lot size and lot width requirements of 800 square metres and 24 metres respectively. The planning proposal also seeks to increase the overall height of the R3 zone from 9 meters to 10.5 meters, as well as the floor space ratio, FSR for short, from 0.7 to 0.8 to 1 correspondingly. The proposal also seeks to provide a bonus FSR as an incentive for multi-dwelling housing developments, and this is in the range of 0.2 to 1, so that a total of 1 to 1 FSR will be given, so that the missing middle topology of townhouses will be incentivized as a preferred development topology. And finally, the planning proposal seeks to implement the recommendations that came forth from the Hurstville City Centre Urban Design Strategy that was prepared in 2019. If supported, this planning proposal will be referred to the local planning panel for their support in June before reporting to the July council meeting, seeking endorsement to forward the planning proposal to the state government. And the support from the state government will come through via a gateway determination. However, it should be noted that the planning proposal will only be submitted if a deferral from the low and mid-rise housing proposal is granted to council. The Mayor had submitted the deferral request in a letter dated the 23rd of April. At this stage, council officers have not received any verbal or written response from the state government in relation to our request. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms Quinn. Councillors, could I call for a mover and seconder on this item, please? Councillor Lansbury has moved it.
I'm happy to second it.
Thank you, Councillor Lansbury.
Madam Chair, I do want to make one small amendment, if that's okay, and it's to item Roman numeral 4, where it reads in the recommendation it's got in the R2 zone, introduce multi-dwelling housing and terraces as permissible land uses with the exception of land located within the existing FSPA, proposed FSPA and the proposed UCA and HCAs. Or
Thank you. I think the staff have got that up on screen if we just want to bring that up. So it's item A4. Do you want to read that out or do you want me to read that out? In the R2 zone, introduce multi-dwelling housing and terraces as permissible land uses with the exception of land located within the existing HCAs, existing FSPA, proposed FSPA and the proposed UCA. Is that what you're happy with, Councillor Lansbury? So it's introducing the words existing HCAs with the exception of land located. Yeah. And Councillor Jamieson as a seconder. I'm sorry, are you happy with that, Councillor Lansbury? Yes. And Councillor Jamieson as a seconder? Okay.
It's,
Oh, sorry, Councillor Mayor only. Sorry, you were the seconder.
sorry, I'm just reading. Is there 2.4s up there? Oh, sorry.
And I think perhaps I might direct a question to the director. This amendment reflects council's previous resolution on this item. Sorry, this is the acting director. Sorry, I'm talking to you can do her if you like.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's my understanding that the provisions provided in this report are a reflection of the previous 2 briefings that were provided to the councillors earlier this year.
Thank you. Thanks. Okay, Councillor Lansbury, as the mover, would you like to speak to the item?
I will speak briefly to it, if that's okay, Madam Chair. I just wanted to say that, you know, obviously we're seeking a deferral. It's not a done deal by any stretch of the imagination, but I think our council officers have identified quite an extensive capacity for uplift, and I think Ms Quinn mentioned it was 8,245 extra dwellings if all of the capacity was taken up, which, you know, that is an ambitious target as well, because as we know, we can provide capacity at councils. We can't compel developers or builders to create those particular additional dwellings. I think we also, seeking this particular deferral would help retain the character of the LGA. you know, I don't mind saying I've had reservations about the housing reforms in their totality, but I think that you cannot have a one-size-fits-all approach to the entire state. I think we need to be able to propose things that directly impact on our area to manage that, you know, to preserve the character of the foreshore, because we don't want that to be compromised. We don't want our heritage conservation areas to be compromised. We don't want the quality of living and life that we've all been attracted to stay in Georges River or move to Georges River. We don't want that to be compromised by having inappropriate development in the wrong locations. And who better knows where those locations can accommodate it than our trustee planning staff professionals. I think that's the best approach that we can have as a council. I do hope that the state government takes it up. I think that obviously, as I said before, you know, it's not a done deal. We can only hope that this additional capacity will far exceed the housing targets, which are still a bit of a mystery. We haven't been provided with them. We also haven't seen the pattern books yet. So, you know, we are doing this in good faith. Because we all recognise that we do have a housing crisis. We do need to provide extra capacity where we can, and by spreading it across the LGA rather than concentrating it in all high-rise apartment buildings in the Hurstville CBD or Kogarah CBD, by spreading the load around, that is a better outcome. And I think research has also shown that people are much more accepting of increased density when it is more low rise rather than tall towers, which can cause overshadowing and other problems as well, and disconnection from the community. One of the encouraging things that has accompanied this proposal for the housing rules, it's not proposal now, it's going to be in effect in a minute now, is the promise from the state government for extra infrastructure to support transport, which our speaker highlighted tonight. The option of Hurstville to Macquarie Park is probably a very valid one. I'm not familiar enough with it. I think we've been focusing quite strongly on the Kogarah to Parramatta rail link, which, you know, metro is possibly the way of the future. It's also very expensive. But I do want to thank the speaker for coming tonight and addressing us on his proposals and suggestions. But the fact that the state government has indicated very strongly that they want to back these reforms by injecting the funds to support the increased density with extra infrastructure and transport and providing capacity for open space is really encouraging. So, you know, we do all want to see that happen. But I also will say, just on a personal note, and I'll finish on this, I think for far too long progressive or successive federal and state governments have underinvested in housing, and I think we need to be looking at that in the future as well. I think it's really important for, you know, not just social housing and affordable housing, but housing in general, because when 30% of the population rents, they need somewhere to live, and when you've got a less than 4% vacancy rate, that makes it pretty impossible for people to continue to put a roof over their head without investment holistically. And whether that means, you know, more build to rent type projects, or, you know, injections of funding from superannuation firms, for example, who are very cashed up. But anyway, I'll finish on that. Thank you to the staff for getting us to this point now, and now we can just hope that the state government accepts this deferral, and or when we get to the planning proposal stage, and I'll leave it there.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor?
Just a couple of points, Madam Chair. First of all, thank you to the staff who have done significant amounts of work on this, and credit to former Director Meryl Bishop for really steering the ship there. But Ms McMahon and Ms Quinn, I know that you were very acutely aware of all the issues that our community face and the type of LGA that our community wants to see. And I think this strikes a very good balance. I've had quite a number of things to say on this, both publicly and in discussions and forums with the state government, the Premier and the Minister. I'm quietly confident that the state government is approaching this with a hand of good faith, and they will come on board in listening to what each area would like to see as part of their part of their character, but also delivering on the housing issue that we face as a nation. And this problem, like Councillor Lansbury had said, is very much not an issue that has just come up today. It has been around for almost 2 decades, and unfortunately is not being met with the same level of seriousness in addressing. But I think we are at that point where we are recognising that there are so many that live amongst us that are experiencing mortgage stress or rental stress, where a huge portion of their weekly income is just going to keeping a roof over their head, which is a very basic human need, I think. And I think that what we have proposed here in briefings that we've had, very detailed briefings, but also very detailed engagement with the community on this, is that this puts forward our solution to what we can do in delivering some of that housing, but also retaining some of the unique characters that we hold so dear. And to Mr. Cartwright, I remember meeting you a number of years ago at one of our ward open days where you approached me about the transport strategy for 2056, and you presented to me on that day a very thick document, but a very detailed document about the metro link between Cogra to Macquarie Park and Parramatta and beyond. Yes, that's correct. And since that time, which I had a read on, and I've always kept in my mind since that time, something that I bring up with council officers, but also with the state government in my discussions with them. And I think that if you still have that document with you, that'd be a very good document to share with the rest of the chamber if you can. Yes. Okay. Well, hopefully we can share that with the rest of the councillors. But it definitely is a document that's worthwhile looking at and being serious advocates for, because it does address the public transport that we desperately need within our local area, but something that we can all do as an advocacy point to the state government in terms of giving greater accessibility to our residents to other parts of Sydney and not just directly into the CBD. But thank you for the work that you've done on this. Huge supporter of it, and I'll continue advocating on behalf of council in my capacity as mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a couple of comments I'd like to make as well. I just want to say this very important report is the culmination of 6 to 7 months of hard work by our expert planning team. I think it was October last year when the council first received communication from the planning minister requesting Greater Sydney councils immediately begin work to identify locations and permit more low and mid-rise homes in our main residential zones. And from the receipt of this correspondence, our strategic planning team led by Ms McMahon and Ms Quinn and our former director, Ms Bishop, have been prioritising this work and getting on the front foot so that Georges River is in the best position possible to be in control of our planning destiny. So I thank the staff for the excellent work and for also guiding councillors, taking us on a very clear journey in arriving at the recommendation before us tonight. I think the proposal provides very sensible and balanced development outcomes. It demonstrates Georges River Council is committed to addressing the urgent need for increased housing capacity and diversity across the Georges River LGA. However, it remains rooted in the guiding principles, which prioritises striking a balance between providing additional dwellings and safeguarding the cherished aspects of our community, such as the natural environment, local heritage, biodiversity, tree canopy cover, and the unique character of our residential suburbs, elements that make Georges River a beloved home for many. I believe with this proposed additional and diverse housing planning proposal, Georges River will be leading the way, demonstrating that we are a council that genuinely wants to play our part in delivering more housing in New South Wales that is well designed and well located. It's important to note that this proposal set to deliver an additional capacity of 8,245 dwellings is just one facet of Council's broader plan to bolster housing capacity in the short term. And concurrently, Council is advancing with the master planning for Riverwood and Kogarah Town Centres, along with the continued implementation of the Beverly Hills Local Centre and Mortdale Local Centre master plans. And as the Mayor has mentioned, I'm also optimistic that the state government, under Premier Minns and Planning Minister Scully, will recognise through this proposal our dedication to creating capacity for diverse housing options and addressing the missing middle. And I trust they will permit Georges River to enact this proposal in lieu of the application of the low and mid-rise housing step in our area. So I just wanted to say thank you. And are there any other points of discussion or questions from any other councillors? If not, I will put the motion and I'll ask Ms McKinley to go around the table.
Mr. Mayor,
For.
Madam Chair,
For.
Councillor Jamieson,
For.
Councillor Lansbury,
For.
Councillor Wang.
For.
5 votes for, unanimous.
I declare the motion carried. We might just see if we can get Councillor Amber Haberhar back. I'll wait for them. Oh no, should I wait for them? The director just would like to, acting director, Mr. Spin, would just like to address the some of the comments from the speaker. So sorry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to say that the comments from Mr. Cartwright will be considered as part of this process, and we really appreciate that. We'll make sure that that report that he refers to is provided to the council, so they're fully aware of that. But as part of this, if this planning proposal does progress, there'll be discussions with various agencies and state government, which we will no doubt be talking in relation to transport and other needs to get this proposal off the ground. So those comments will not be lost. So thank you for your submission.
Madam Chair, just can I just table the documents with the appendix?
Certainly, Ms. McKinley will come and take that from you. Thank you. So we'll just note that that report has been tabled. And we'll move to the next item of, on the agenda, which is EMB 0-0-24, update on Mortdale and Beverly Hills Local Centre Master Plans. And Ms. McMahon, the Manager of Strategic Planning, is going to give us an overview of that update.
Through you, Madam Chair. This report provides an update on both master plans for Mortdale and Beverly Hills. The implementation of the Mortdale Local Centre Master Plan is just waiting on budget, which has been included in the next financial year to commence the community workshops on the controls or guidelines to ensure that we retain the village character of Mortdale Local Centre. So, subject to budget, that work will probably commence with the community in July, August. In regards to the Beverly Hills Local Centre Master Plan, it has been delayed due to the adoption by Council in October last year of the Overland Flow Floodplain Risk Management Study. That study has significant implications for the master plan and the heights in the master plan that Council adopted in April last year. Just from the information supplied to date by the flood consultants, we may have to increase the heights to allow that 500 millimetre buffer from the ground level up to handle the flood areas within Beverly Hills and also the PMF areas within Beverly Hills. There's a map in the report that actually shows the extent of it, and I'll just point it out. It's on figure 4 on page 46 of the report. Apart from the high areas, it is Beverly Hills does have flood impacts. Now, the report also provides a summary of the impact of the low and mid-rise housing reforms on both master plans, and they're contained in tables. They're contained in tables 1 and 4 of the report. Sorry, that they're contained in tables 2 and 4 of the report. Now, early last week, the state government issued a policy refinement paper on the housing reforms. The reforms, this paper indicates that the reforms will not apply to the E1 local centre zone, the E2 commercial core zone, nor the mixed use zone. So that means the areas coloured blue on our zoning map regarding the Mortdale shops and the Beverly Hills shops, the housing reforms will not affect those blue areas. But the housing reforms will still affect the R2, the R3 and the R4. The refinement paper has indicated that the department has looked at the FSRs and the heights in the R3 and R4 zones for residential flat buildings, and they have proposed some variations to the housing reforms that would that affect the FSR and heights for the R3 and R4 zones. So the policy refinement paper has increased the height of residential flat buildings in the R4 zoning to 24 metres for shop top housing and 22 metres if it's just a residential flat building. They've decreased the floor space ratio in the housing reforms from 3:1 to 2.2:1. So the state government has taken into consideration that a lot of councils pointed out that there was a mismatch between the 3:1 and the 21 metres. It just didn't work. In respect to the R3 zoning, the state government is still proposing residential flat buildings as a permitted use in the R3 zoning. Just remember, our provisions don't allow residential flat buildings in the R3 zoning. The state government reforms do. They've increased the height for RFBs from 21 metres to 22 metres, and they've decreased the FSR from 3:1 to 2.2:1. There's no information on the low-rise reforms at this stage, but when officers do receive that, we'll pass that on to the councillors. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Ms McMahon. I'll call for a mover and seconder on that item, please. Councillor Wang,
Yeah,
move that.
yes. Can I ask a few questions? Yeah.
Okay, so you're going to move it?
Yeah.
I'll just get a seconder if I could, please. Councillor Lansbury. Okay, and if you want to ask your questions, please, Councillor Wang.
Yeah, through you, Madam Chair. I just want to seek some clarification. First, the height increase. So just by indication, is that about 1 meter? Is that what it's saying?
Through you, Madam Chair, yes, from the exhibited housing reforms to the refinement paper, it's an increase of 1 metre for just residential flat buildings. And if the applicant is doing a shop top housing, it's an increase of 3 metres to 24 metres.
Okay. Okay. So thank you. So the second question is, so what's the real impact for the delivery of the Beverly Hills master plan in terms of timing, because it's affected by this flood zone and the housing reform, because this master plan has been delayed multiple times. I didn't see it here, the real timeline.
Through you, Madam Chair, yes, that question was raised. I didn't put a timeline in the report because at this stage I'm still waiting on the final flood study.
Okay.
I am also still waiting on the final risk analysis. The risk analysis can't be finalised until the height and the FSR are finalised for the centre, because the height and the FSR impacts on dwelling numbers and then population numbers. So the risk consultant needs those numbers before they can finalise their risk report. Because of the flood implications, I have to bring Beverly Hills back to council for a new resolution to increase the heights. I'm hoping to get that to the council. If not in July, it will be in August. The exhibition won't happen until later on this year, probably I think after the elections, because I do need a new resolution from council for exhibition.
Okay. So this sort of not detail, but just the clarification will be, presented or sent to the community after this meeting. Is that?
No, as I said, I'm waiting on our consultants to finalise the report, their reports. Then I will bring the Beverly Hills Master Plan back to the Environment and Planning Committee to advise the councillors of the increase in heights.
Yeah.
Then we can update our website so residents can then be aware of what the implications of the flooding, the risk and the increase in height.
Okay.
At this stage, I don't have that detail to put on the website.
Okay. So once you got the detail, you publish and advise the community.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
And you also asked a question on the housing reforms and the impact on Beverly Hills.
Yes.
It won't have an impact on any of the commercial zoning along Beverly Hills and along that little bit of blue area above the railway station. That will remain as what?
Taronga Terrace, is it?
Yeah, Taronga Terrace. So the refinement paper didn't cover any R2 zoned land, so I don't know the impact of the housing reforms on that at this stage. The only impact will be the R4 zoning to the west of King George's Road, but as councillors are aware, there's not a lot of sites left there to be redeveloped.
Yeah. So on the north side of the railway, so the impact is huge, isn't it? So for the R2 zone on the north side of the railway, based on the housing reform.
Through you, Madam Chair, under the current housing reform package that was exhibited, yes, but as I said, the state government is listening to the submissions that have been received from numerous organisations and councils. They haven't come back with the refinement policy position on the R2 zone yet. So I don't know the impact of the housing reforms at this stage. I don't believe they'll be to the extent as exhibited though.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, councillors, any other questions? If not, it's been moved by Councillor Wang and seconded by Councillor Lansbury. And I'll put the motion. If Ms McKinley could go around the table, please.
Madam Chair,
4.
Councillor Amby Haberhart.
4.
Councillor Jamieson.
4.
Councillor Lansbury.
4.
Councillor Wang.
4.
5 votes for, unanimous.
I'll declare that carried. And we move to the last item on the agenda, which is EMB 021-24, revised employment projections for the Georges River LGA. And Ms Quinn, our Principal Strategic Planner, is going to give us an update on that one.
Through you, Madam Chair. Employment projections for the LGA was completed for the first time in 2019, and that was based on the 2016 census data. It provided the evidence base for council's adopted commercial centre strategy by providing job forecasts up until the year of 2036. Since then, as we know, the COVID-19 pandemic has caused shifts in demographic trends with flow-on effects to the LGA's population and employment profile. To better understand the likely impacts of COVID-19 on our LGA, a revised set of employment projections was completed last year. Overall, the 2 COVID-19 lockdowns resulted in sharp declines in employment at the time, but we saw that employment loss was corrected by February 2023. In fact, the LGA even saw an increase of 3,150 jobs between 2021 and 2023. The revised projection is based on the 2021 census. It estimates that there will be almost 54,000 jobs in the LGA by 2036. So what does this mean? This equates to a 26.8% increase from 2016, which is a benchmark for our employment projections. And this is comparable to the percentage growth of 25.9% that was given to us by the previous projections back in 2019. So accordingly, it can be assumed that the LGA has self-corrected the employment impacts of COVID-19 and the future employment floor space demands outlined by our adopted census strategy remain applicable for all of our LGA's commercial centres. So this report recommends Council adopt a revised employment forecast as a strategic planning document that will inform the development of policies and planning directions moving forward. It is also recommended that Council discontinue the draft activating our centres policy. This draft policy proposes to allow any employment floor space provided in the basement of a planning proposal to be granted as bonus FSR, meaning it doesn't count towards the overall FSR of a development. It should be noted that the state government's LEP guideline mandates the assessment of every planning proposal on its strategic as well as site-specific merit. So in that aspect, the draft policy is considered to be an unnecessary duplication of the required assessment process which you already undertake. Any planning proposal in the LGA centres should be assessed in accordance with Council's adopted strategic planning documents, and this includes the revised employment forecast as well as the commercial centre strategy. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Quinn. Councillors, if I could call for a mover and seconder, please. Councillor Amber Haper has moved and Councillor Lansbury has seconded. Councillor Amber Haper, would you like to send Councillor Lansbury? Would you like to make any comments?
I would like to make a bit of a comment. Just looking at the figures, thank you for all of that. I'm just wondering, I was just sort of thinking as you were giving your report, Ms. Quinn, how much of an impact does working from home skew some of those figures as well? Because people that work from home are clearly activating our local centres by going and buying coffees and nicking off to Woolies at lunchtime, I've heard. So, I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? Because it's a pretty fluid set of numbers and we probably will never go back to how we were pre-COVID as to office 5 days a week and all the rest of it. So I wonder if in future studies they might incorporate that line of inquiry. I just think it could be really useful for future planning too.
Okay, thank you. Did you want to respond?
Oh, yes, through you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Councillor Lansbury. We'll definitely take that on board for our future forecasts and any work involving commercial centres. Thank you.
Okay, any other councillors have any questions for staff? If not, we'll put that motion. Ms. McKinley, please.
Madam Chair,
For the motion.
Councillor Amber Haper.
For.
Councillor Jamieson.
For.
Councillor Lansbury.
For.
Councillor Wang.
For.
5 votes for, unanimous.
I declare that motion carried. And councillors, there being no other business on the agenda, I declare the meeting closed at 7:55 p.m. Thank you, everybody, for attending.